Welcome, everyone, to Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni. We're here to bring you tales as sweet as a glass of sweet tea on a hot summer day. From the rolling hills of Tennessee to the dusty trails of Texas, we've got stories that'll make you tap your boots and clap your hands. On our podcast, we interview amazing country songwriters and singers, sharing stories of love lost and found, of cowboys and outlaws, and of the simple joys of country living. So grab a seat, pour yourself a drink, and get ready to be transported to a world where the stars shine bright and the music never stops. Whether you're a city slicker or a country bumpkin, there's something here for everyone. So sit back, relax, and join us on a journey through the heart of America. Welcome to Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni.
Hudson James is a singer-songwriter with a soul deeply rooted in country music. Born and raised in the heart of New York City, he was immersed in the American dream. With a passion for music and theater, Hudson pursued his education, ultimately finding himself in the vibrant music scene of Nashville.
Remember when I was young, so we're here, time stood still.
After years of living in the shadows, Hudson embarked on a transformative journey of self-discovery. This personal evolution has profoundly shaped his songwriting, infusing his music with raw emotion and a powerful message of acceptance and authenticity.
Why did I let myself linger and doubt? Why did I let my own fears win out? No one to fault, nowhere to hide.
Beyond his musical pursuits, Hudson is a dedicated concert promoter. With a deep appreciation for the rich history of country music, he strives to connect with audiences and celebrate the enduring legacy of this beloved genre. Joni Harms possesses a warmth and sincerity that shines through in her music. Her voice, a blend of country and Western influences, draws you in, making you feel like she's singing just for you. With her unique style and captivating performances, Joni has garnered a dedicated following worldwide. Growing up, I was inspired by the likes of Emmylou Harris, Dolly Parton, Merle Haggard, and George Strait, Joni shares. I learned to sing and write songs by immersing myself in their music. Joni's musical journey began in the early 1990s when she signed with legendary producer Jimmy Bowen. Since then, she has released 13 studio albums, each one showcasing her talent for storytelling and heartfelt melodies. Her latest album, Lucky 13, has been praised by critics as one of the best country albums of recent years. Joni's music is a reflection of her life on a century-old Oregon farm. Her songs celebrate the beauty of the countryside, the spirit of the cowboy, and the enduring power of love and loss. She has a particular fondness for ballads and story songs, much like her idol Merle Haggard. Beyond her musical talents,
was the new kid on the circuit, gold buckles in his eyes, but the horse he drew was plenty rank, and much to his surprise, he did a double backflip, landed on his head. This old cowboy limped out in the ring, leaned over him and said, "You better cowboy up."
Joni is a dedicated mother and a hard-working rancher. She balances her busy career with her passion for the land, finding inspiration in the simple pleasures of rural life. Joni Harms' legacy extends beyond her music. She has been honored by prestigious organizations like the Western Music Association and the Academy of Western Artists. Her performances on legendary stages such as the Grand Ole Opry and Carnegie Hall have solidified her place in country music history. As Joni continues to tour and share her music with the world, she remains grateful for the journey that has brought her to this point. With her unwavering passion and undeniable talent, Joni Harms is poised to leave a lasting impact on the world of country music.
Well, everyone, welcome back to Stories Around the Table with Hudson and Joni. This is a special episode. We just talk about us, what got us into it, and what made us decide to do this podcast.
Hey, Hudson, how are you today?
I'm good. Yourself?
Oh, good. And I just am so excited about our new podcast and this show that's going to let people know about some people in the music industry, the country music industry, that they may not really know too much about, rather than, I mean, we're going to certainly have some of the great artists on, singers, but songwriters is another area that is kind of not talked about a lot, or not interviewed a lot of these guys and gals, and I just, being one myself, and you having background in booking and working with a lot of the people on a different side of the whole spectrum that folks out there just listening to the radio or buying these albums may not know a thing about. And so I think it's going to be a really fun show, just kind of giving some of the inside scoop of how it all goes together.
Yeah, and like you mentioned with the bookings and shows, a lot of people don't really understand how that works.
Right.
A lot of people assume they buy the ticket, the artist put the show on, but in most cases, that's no way on how it's really done.
Right. And really what goes in after a song is written, of how the magic happens to get it to the point where it goes to the radio.
Right.
Pardon me.
Yeah, it's a huge process.
Yes. And I think that's just going to be kind of a neat thing to share that with our listeners. And, I know as a songwriter that it's kind of a magical thing. I mean, it starts with just maybe an idea or a hook for a song, as you call it, in the Nashville terms, and then either you write it by yourself or you get with a co-writer or two and say, what do you think of this idea? And then one thing will lead to another, and when you finally, whether sometimes it can be as quick as 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes it can take a couple days or weeks to finish a song, but when you get it done and you feel like it's ready, and then it goes to the recording studio, whether it's in my case, a lot of times I got to sing the song, which was magical, or go in and hear the artist that was kind enough to say, man, or the producer or whoever found it said, let's cut this song. It's great, and it's going to be perfect with this person's voice. And then all the players come in, and you decide if you need more steel guitar or a fiddle, lead guitar, keys, whatever it might be on the rides that go in between the verses. And it's they got a great producer down there saying exactly what tempo it should be. What kind of a feel, up tempo, slow, whatever, and then it finally the masterpiece comes out and goes to the radio airwaves. But most people don't hear any of that beginning process. All they hear is the finished thing. Right, absolutely. And when it comes to writing, I can barely write my shopping list. So, hearing all these, how it actually happens. And where they get the inspiration. I know. Well, you started out, though, I mean, you said, I remember when we just had a brief conversation, you said that you were always really intrigued with music and how the whole process happened. And so you pursued a career in that side of it with finding out how to book artists and the whole producing thing and management thing and so you had quite a how many years, like 2, 3, 4 years anyway, you were doing that, weren't you? Yeah, I promoted the first concert when I was in high school, and
I wasn't even probably old enough to do it, but did it anyway. And it was for a charity, and we were trying to raise money. And I had already become friends with a few singers, and they decided to come and perform. And that was really when I learned the hard way that it's not just an artist coming, performing, and that's it. You have to line up their hotels, catering, securing the venue. There's just so many pieces that a lot of people really don't know, maybe. And
Absolutely.
that was really my first shot. And then I did college for music, and I always wanted a part in it, one way or another. And when I was with a little label, I didn't really like it. You really are their puppet. You do what they say, or they say sayonara. And you can't do that because that's your job, It's
Right.
You can't just get fired from your job.
Well, I know when I first got signed to my first big record, national record deal, I thought I had it made, and then I realized that there are, it's a big pie, and then you make a little slice for your manager, then you make another slice for your producer and the record label, and then you make another slice for your co-writers of the songs, or your publisher, who is in charge of making sure that you do get your royalties. Then you cut another slice for the expenses of being out on the road, your band members, your road manager, your hotel rooms and fuel and food for everybody that would be on the bus going down the road to the shows. And before you know it, Hudson, there is maybe just a sliver of the pie left for you.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, it is not what it appears. Believe me. I mean, sometimes you say, I still myself say, well, look at there's 3 buses and 2 big trucks full of gear for so and so who's just pulled up for a concert. But boy, then you say, but man, why do they have to charge so much for their concert? That seems
Right.
like an awful lot of money. But it doesn't go that far, believe me, when you start taking care of everybody else's expenses, because you're the one that's in charge of all that as the artist.
Right. And and that kind of goes back to the concert promoter. So
Right.
a lot of these artists really can't promote their shows on their own. There's way too much money involved. And
Right.
so they try to find all these different promoters to put the show on, and that's that end. And so what I realized when I was with that label, I learned a lot, and I realized, you know what, I could do this on my own and just bring in the artist. I've already promoted a show or two. I could open for them, so I still get to do what I want to do, and now I can open for who I want to open for. And
Sure.
that's kind of how that went. And
It really is a wonderful business, so I don't want to shine any negativity on it, because it's what would we be without music, for heaven's sake? It gets us through,
absolutely.
our worst times, our best times, and it's a business, though, and I think that is something that I really learned through my experiences with it. It's not just something that you go out and a lot of people think that there's nothing but fun to it. I know they do, and that's okay. Let them think that. Let them just think that we get up in the morning and like in my case, my makeup is automatically on, my clothing and my outfits are laid out there for me. All I got to do is shower and put it on and come out on stage with a big smile on my face. That's great. If they think that, then that's great. But there is so much more to it. But I feel blessed every day of my life that I have had the opportunity to do this, because I can't think of anything else I'd rather do.
No.
Hey there, country music fans. Love the show? We're thrilled to announce the launch of our brand new website, Stories Round the Table with HudsonandJoni.com. That's right, Stories Round the Table with HudsonandJoni.com. There, you'll find everything you need to stay connected with the country music world. Browse past episodes featuring your favorite country artists, get a sneak peek at upcoming shows, and even learn more about Hudson James and Joni Harms, the dedicated country music enthusiasts behind the mic. But wait, there's more. Now you can show your love for country music with our brand new merch. From comfy tees to stylish mugs, we've got something for every country music lover. Head over to the website to check out the collection and rep your favorite artists and the genre you love. Stories Round the Table, your go-to for all things country music. Visit Stories Round the Table with HudsonandJoni.com today.
Me either.
And, to do this podcast with you right now is just a blessing also, because it is something that I've always thought would be fun to do. And being, like you and I both have been, on the other end of the whole person coming out to do a show or somebody you're hearing on the radio, we've been in the other sides of what it takes to put that all together. And so I think that's just going to be one of the real fun things for us to do, is to share some of that and highlight songwriters and producers and people that, they don't get their fair share of, hey, kudos to you, man, that was a great song, or you, the way you produced that song, I mean, it could have gone a whole different direction, and yet you had a vision for it to turn out to be this big hit song with the instrumentation you put with it, the tempo, just the whole feel that you gave that song. It is all part of it. And so just a chance to talk to a lot of these people is just going to be very, very fun for us, but I think also really, really kind of an eye-opener for our listeners.
Absolutely. And, I really enjoy bringing on some of the artists that I just don't think really got the recognition that they should have got. And
I agree.
I can remember some of my favorite singers back from the 90s. And I would say Lila McCann was definitely one of them. But the problem then, LeAnn Rimes was also coming out. They were both teenagers, and all the money was put behind LeAnn, which is great. She had a great career, but a few kind of just fell in the dust. And they're so talented, but the problem is, as you already know, if they're not bringing in the exact digit that the record label wants, they won't push them to the radio, and then they just get no airplay. And if they get no airplay, nobody knows who they are. That's right.
It is. There's some politics to the music business as well. And, but isn't there with just about everything, Hudson? I mean, every game that's out there, every business that's out there has got some things that are maybe not just as the perfect world would see it. But it's a game, and I'm glad that I was able to get on board and take my ride. And I had some different ideas of how I hoped the outcome would be, but again, at the end of the day, I've been able to do something that I love, and I made a career out of it. I didn't maybe get as many people as I would have liked to, because part of the joy is sharing your music with folks out there. But I was able to reach a few and again, just do something that I love. And when people come up and say, "Man, that song got me through a situation," or I through a real hard time, there's no better reward than that.
Well, you know what? Two things. One, I love that we don't have politics. We'll bring on whoever we want to bring on.
That's right.
Second, you may not want to toot your own horn, but I will. You performed all over the world. People know your music.
Well, I have been blessed. For those that do and those that like my kind of music, it's there, and there are folks, thank goodness, that love the real classic country traditional sounds like I do, and I do exactly how I like to play it and do it, but with the style, and it's kind of a western swing, classic country. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't really like to try to fit into a category. Is part of my problem, I suppose. But being a singer-songwriter, I like to have it come out the way I envisioned it from the very beginnings of the idea for the song, and when people can hear it and relate to it, I just say that I am maybe in a smaller pond rather than out in an ocean, but for the folks that go fishing in that pond and hear my kind of music and like that style, then I'm just really glad I'm there for them.
Absolutely. And I would say your style's, it's country. It's how country is supposed to be. It's
Well, you have to say that. You're my co-host.
Nah, I don't have to say it. I wanted to say it.
Well, I'm just so glad that you see this. You had this vision of this kind of a podcast and a show, and were kind enough to invite me to come on board with you. And I mean, it's just really something I didn't know that I had missing in my life that I wanted to be doing. But boy, as soon as we did our first interview and first chatting together and talking about all these things, I just got super excited. It's just like, oh, this is the next chapter in the Joni Harms book right here.
And it's so much fun. And
yes,
we can just do what we want to do.
Well, between the two of us, we know quite a few folks and have been, we personally are fans of a lot of these artists and songwriters and stuff that maybe a lot of other people don't know. So, I mean, certainly we're going to have some names that are recognizable to our listeners quite often. But also, we're probably going to say, we're doing somebody today that you may not have heard of, and most likely they haven't. But hopefully after they listen to our podcast, they're going to say, man, I like that person's music, whether it's their songwriting or whether it's the songs that they've recorded, and maybe they can go, because there's nobody you can't hardly find on the internet anymore. So if we introduce somebody new to some of our listeners, hopefully they'll go out and try to get some more of their music or read up some more about them or whatever, just because they're worth having on the show and worth trying to share their story with our listeners.
Well, and to go with our listeners and us, there are a lot of people that are really missing the real country. I talk to people every day, and they're like, it's not the same.
That's right.
And unfortunately, it's just really not. And I know this will show my age, I suppose. Everything changes in time. I get it. But some things just shouldn't. Country music is country music.
I know what you're saying there, and that's just, I mean, look at how our whole world is right now, though. There's so much of it right now that I say, wow, why did that change? It was so good the way it was before. It's a mess now. And that does show our age, but we got a lot of people out there feeling the same things we are. And so, I mean, boy, if I have said more than once that I am really glad that I got to be in the music business and be in Nashville when Nashville was still Nashville, and 16th Avenue still existed, and they had the publishing houses and the different record labels and all those things right on Music Row. That was really an experience that, and have the pleasure of being on the Opry and some things like that. They had the show Nashville Now, and I was on there several times, and I'm just so glad that I got to experience all that when it was like that, because it is very different now. But part of the fun of what we're going to do is talk to some of those folks that were in that era with us and share the stories and maybe even introduce them to folks that don't know about that kind of music. All they know is today's country music. So they need to hear some of this 90s stuff and, realize there is another side to country music.
Absolutely. And I was working on a show maybe about 3 years ago. Maybe it's 4 years now. And we were doing a 90s country artist, and we were kind of trying to figure out which venue to put it in. And we ended up finding a venue by a college campus. And I'm like, oh, these are all young kids. They're not going to know the artist. It's not going to work. So we did some research, and I hired a marketing company. And the owner of this marketing company was maybe 22, 23. He was quite young. And he actually did like a demographic search. And most of the young people between 20 and 30, they're searching for the 90s country, the older country. And it's because it's what their parents listened to, it's what they knew, and it's what they like. It's quite surprising that the younger generation doesn't want the new. Some probably do, some don't.
Well, that's what our show is going to do, is bring some of that back for other people to hear. And what I'm hoping is that if we do have more of our age group tuning into this in the beginning, that maybe the whole object and the hope of this podcast is that people will share the news about it with people of all ages and say, you might really enjoy listening to this, and if they listen to us, and like maybe a little of what they hear, maybe they'll go research some more of the 90s country or whatever era there. Maybe go back further than that. Just study where country music came from, and how it's progressed through the years. I remember the days vaguely of mom and dad. My mom and dad listened to some of the songs that were what people kind of even to some degree made fun of, the old honky-tonk country music, where it was, you never sad song about you losing your wife or you losing this. And, there was an era where it kind of did that. But then when it got into the 80s and 90s, it kind of just started being more what you and I know and what we're talking about, where there're just some great story songs and really some uplifting songs that, man, they made a big difference in my life. Some of the music that I listened to when I was, in my 20s and 30s and even younger. So it's music makes a big impression, and what we need to do and take away from the podcast this week of ours is that, there's so much of it out there to enjoy. You don't get in a rut and just listen to one kind or one thing, because it's so much fun to hear all the different varieties of country and other styles of music as well.
Absolutely. Well, Joni, anything else you want to share?
I just want to tell people that we are here for you. If you've got some suggestions of who you would like us to interview, maybe you know of somebody special that has not maybe had the limelight like you think they deserve. Let us know about them, and spread the word. And if you have questions for Hudson and I, let us know that. We're happy to share whatever knowledge or story we can, and we're just going to have a good times ourselves, and hope that everybody else that tunes in does too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll put a contact thing on there for everybody to see. Feel free to reach out. We're generally really fast at responding, so reach out. We love it. All the engagement, the better.
Absolutely. All right. Talk to y'all again soon.
Thanks again, everyone. See you in the next episode.
Thanks for being around the table.
This is a Lone Star Legacy Productions